Yeah, I put my dad in the street against a heavyweight.
I've gone back to the dad, I've punched him a few more times.
5 blokes outside my front door, can you come and help
One
me?
hell of a fucking story, so stay tuned.
Oscar Bevis, IFL TV, proudly sponsored by Everlast. Ben Shalom joins me at the BT studios behind enemy lines today, Ben. But the important thing is Joe Joyce and JoyceParker is done. And on the 24th of September, we will finally get this fight.
Feels like an away day, you know, when you go to the football and you're sort of undercover. No, it's good, really good. Really happy to be here. BT have treated us so well. And glad to just get the fight on. This is a fight JoyceParker wanted. And he just wanted it on the right terms, and that was it, and managed to get it done. And it's great for boxing, I think. Yeah, it's great for boxing that this managed to get done. I think people thought when he signed with us, that was it. And we always wanted to make the fight. That's why we made the offer. I think Frank, at that point, reacted the way he did, but it made us see eye to eye, and it started a conversation. I think we realised, you know, sometimes the sport needs to come first, and it made sense.
People would have seen the fight posters today and seen, obviously, boxer underneath JoyceParker's name. Is this kind of Queensbury in association with boxer, or is it kind of a co-promotion, or how do you kind of announce, or how does it stand, I suppose, with you two?
It's a BT fight, it's a Queensbury fight. I think we had to do a rematch clause and a 2-fight deal, so the second fight, if there is one, will be on Sky Sports on a boxer show. We're working together on a few things around the card. We've got Samuel Ampweed on the card, a British title against Deco Usman as well. So, look, we once we started negotiating with George and we started saying, look, I think promoters need to understand boxing isn't a sport that you can own, and trying to put people out of business and trying to put them out of existence and maybe being insulting and things like that just doesn't help the sport, doesn't get anywhere. And I think we saw eye to eye on that. And there's a lot of competition in boxing now, and it can either go one way or another. I think if promoters can work together and try and put egos aside and try and do what makes sense, then the sport's going to be in an unbelievable place over the next 12 months. But that's key, and it's just whether you can. And sometimes you try and work with promoters, and you realise very quickly that they just want to. They just want to ruin you, or they want to embarrass you, or want to do this, and so it's slowly, but so far so good. And we want to be able to work with other promoters. We've done it with Top Rank, we've done it with Mick Hennessy and Salita, and we've done it. It's been obvious throughout our shows, and this is a big fight and one we wanted to make happen. So glad we got it over the line.
Do you sense that as we get nearer to fight week, obviously only the launch presser today, as we get nearer to fight week, there might kind of be a bit of frostiness, just because essentially it's two of the biggest fighters in each stable who need to win to progress? So will there be that kind of little bit of frostiness as we go towards the fight, do you think?
I think there's a lot of frustration from both of them as to how long this took. Things have been said, but yeah, what's on the line is huge. It is number one v number two. The winner should become mandatory for a world title, and that was an opportunity that Joseph just couldn't turn down. When we looked at the options, you know, you can fight. We could keep him on Sky and fight, you know, Otto Woolen, Michael Hunter, and things like that in the short term, and wait for his opportunity. But opportunities don't come along very, very often, and this was a fight that the fans clearly wanted to see. And although from a business sense point of view for us, it would have made probably more sense to keep him on Sky. This is a fight that he wants, and we want fighters to know that we're going to look after their interests, and we're going to take on the fights that we think are best for their career. And when we got the terms that we wanted, and when we only had to come for one fight, and there's no options and this and that, it was an obvious move. And thankfully, George Warren as well has worked through it sensibly with us, and we got there.
Obviously, it is all about what happens in the ring, but people are interested in kind of the nitty-gritty. We had that little bit up there where Frank done the Frank thing and brought up some old texts. Can you kind of tell us a timeline, Mick, from your perspective, how this kind of went wrong before going right?
I think sometimes you see, I mean, Joe Joyce was in a similar position. If you remember when he fought Daniel, he was the B-side, and it took a long time for him to become the A-side. And say Lyndon Arthur, when he beat Anthony Yard and then had to wait a long time and finally got the rematch, and then what happened. So I think that was always JoyceParker wanted a promoter that could sign him and look after him long term. So that was the key for him. And I think
you had to put that over the original deal that was proposed to him. Had to put the promotional side and pen in with you over the original deal.
I think he didn't want to get locked into a long-term thing with Queensberry or BT for whatever reason, and I'm sure that is no disrespect to them. That was just, I think, how it went.
Because he could have ended up playing second fiddle to Joe, essentially.
Third fiddle, and so he wanted the fight, but really he wants to progress his career in the best possible way. He still thinks he's going to fight for world titles again. He's in the prime of his career now. He's fighting with Andy Lee. He's over here. He's having his camps over here. He wants a great setup, and so I think the reason when it then got done was, one, the animosity was taken away. We were able to negotiate with the Warrens with a clear head, and with no prior bad feeling or anything. And in the end, it made sense for everyone. And it means that Joyce-Parker and Boxer could come and take a fight and it'd be a one fight over on BT. And it makes sense. And I'm hoping that this potentially is the start of us seeing big fights made. I want fighters that are signing with us to not think, oh, my guy is over the fence, that means the fight's never going to happen. It's not at all. Sometimes it might be on Sky, sometimes it might be on BT, sometimes it might be on another platform. But, I think, thankfully, the Warrens have seen it like that as well.
Just one more thing from me, in terms of the stuff in the ring, how good of a fight is this going to be? Two very different styles, and perhaps a style that Joyce hasn't seen before, especially at the level of Joyce-Parker.
I think so. I think it's a massive test for Joe Joyce. I mean, we talked about him. I think, to be honest, maybe you looked too much into the Daniel Dubois fight. I think Daniel was underprepared, very inexperienced at that point. He's still learning his craft. So, and Joe Joyce has just not had that experience at that level. And Joyce-Parker moves well. He's faster. He's skillful. He feels a lot better than he did now with Andy Lee, and his two fights. I think the second fight against Chisora was a lot better. So I think it's the wrong style for Joe Joyce, if I'm honest. I think it's the wrong style. I think Joyce-Parker can stay out of the way. I think he can tag him a lot, and it's going to be an interesting fight. It's just whether Joe Joyce, I guess, can land. And Joyce-Parker has never, ever been stopped. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah, I put my dad in the street against a heavyweight.
I've gone back to the dad. I've punched him a few more
There's
times.
5 blokes outside my front door. Can you come and help
One
me?
hell of a fucking story, so stay tuned.
Welcome, Team Everlast, to the Team Everlast Fitness app. Download the Everlast Fitness app and find your greatness within.